Procura no e-mail. Eu vou mandar. Vai cair lá no YouTube. Tá me ouvindo, Luciano?
Sim.
Acho que não entrou ainda, porque o pessoal tá lá no...
We are live, I think.
Yeah?
So, yeah. So, hello, everybody. This is our online collaborative workshop. And my name is Luciano Gallegos, and I'm a professor at the University of Fortaleza and a chief scientist of the state government of Ceará. And I would like to welcome you all for this Challenges in Collaborative System panel. And first of all, I would like to tell you all how we will manage this challenge. So we split this challenge in 3 parts. The first one is about the opening. So we have 4 guests, and the idea is that the guests will have some time to present themselves and talk a little bit about questions as they wish. Then we will make some questions as mediators. So me and Leticia, that will introduce herself in a couple of minutes, will mediate some questions that the guests just share with us. And then in the third part will be about questions from the audience. So it's a pleasure for me to be with you all, and hopefully we'll have a very good challenge, very good comments in this panel, as we have been in the whole workshop. Thank you very much, and we'll let Leticia introduce herself. Hi, Leticia.
Hi, Luciano. Welcome to the day 3 of the online collaboration workshop. I am Leticia. I am postdoc at Universidade Federal do Pará. I hope you are fine. In this session, we will present 4 excellent researchers, academic and corporate, in the area of CSCW and HCI, who presenting thought-provoking ideas and their visions about challenges for collaborative systems in the current and the future time. On behalf of Luciano and everyone else, the rest of our team, I really want to thank you because you came. Unfortunately, we can have you in person, but I hope that back to the next year. So our first panelist is Heloísa Candelo, and this panel is being transmitted in live stream by YouTube channel on the SESC and by Facebook. Hello, Heloísa. Just one more quick tip is, so if you in our audience have questions, and we encourage you to have questions, please put in the YouTube's chat or in the Facebook comments, and then we will ask to the speakers. So we are in a virtual event, and the virtual events are new, and we are still learning. So enjoy it. Heloísa Candelo, she is a research scientist in the Conversation Intelligence Group of IBM Research Brazil. She has exploring design issues involved in conversational interface. Her research is her research result in several publications in leading conference and recognition in design field. So, Heloísa, could you tell us in briefly your history? And to keep this conversation, we would like to hear about what do you think will be the biggest challenges for collaborative system in the next decade?
So, hello everyone. Thanks so much for inviting me to be in this panel. Thanks, Leticia. Thanks, Luciano. Actually, Leticia introduced myself before. So just to have an understanding, in short, I'm working with user research, design research inside IBM, and I'm leading projects related to conversational systems. I'm going to talk about some of them and the challenge that Leticia asked me to talk about in this field, and how the collaborative, the supportive work can be one way to solve those challenges, or even think about the challenge that we have related to AI. So I'm going to continue here. Most of the projects that I'm going to show, they are related to multiple bots or multiple people talking together or exchanging information. So here we have some paradigms of conversational models, so expert agents. So you can talk to one expert agent, for example, to ask for food, for example, in a restaurant, or you can talk to another one to buy a kitchen appliance, for example. And here in the second one, you have a personal assistant, like, for example, Alexa or Google Home, that you can talk to the assistant can ask other agents to do this for you, like, hi, I would like to take an Uber, and Alexa can schedule for you. So the projects that I'm going to talk, they are more related to the teams of expert agents and the humans. Here I just have one human, but you are going to see that we are exploring as well this relation between two people and among other people as well. So first I'm going to show this project. This project was in an art exhibition. So each hat of that you are seeing in this table is one character from Dom Casmurro, Capitu Bentinho Escobar. The main plot, the main thing about this book is that the husband thinks that the wife is having an affair with his best friend. So actually in Brazil, we have soap operas about that, and everyone has a big question. So Capitu is guilty or she's not guilty? And we did this exhibition, and people could ask questions to those agents, and I'm going to try to show, let's see if it will happen.
Eloisa, I think that you muted your microphone. Could you turn on, please? Try again.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Let's try again.
No worries.
Okay, good. Okay. Let's go. So people, they can type their name, and they can choose each agent. They can ask the question. So if you can ask to the husband or the best friend or to the wife, right? And actually those agents, I'm going to try not to talk about things that are not in the subtitles, because it will be a little confusing. Okay. So the user here will type like, did you betray him? To Capitu, that's the wife. And then he sends the question.
Eloisa, one more interruption. You need to share your screen for see.
I'm sharing the screen. Let's see again. I'm going to share again. I'm sorry. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, just
okay.
Now. Yes, sure, perfect.
Thank you for telling me. Okay, So I'm going to do something like that. Then we don't waste time. And then he types. And what happens is that the user can see his question on the table, is projected. And you have like a sentiment analysis in the cups. So it's not a question that Capitu would like to answer. She's in red here. And she says, of course, she didn't do anything, and I believe her. Okay. So this is the exhibition that we did. So, but why we did that? Are you okay? Can you listen to me? Can I continue? Leticia? Hello?
Yes, Eloisa, we hear very well. You can continue.
Okay, thank you. So, and then we wanted to know, for example, we did this exhibition to understand a little bit how people, they interact with chatbots in public space and how they engage with them. Which kind of things happen during this interaction? So we saw an interesting thing that was the audience, people that were around the table. So sometimes they were with someone that they knew, like acquaintance in the first case. Sometimes they were observed by strangers, like by their shoulders, like over their shoulders, and they were typing and someone was looking at them. And sometimes people, they were looking at them, like, but in front of them. So what we saw that users observed by strangers, they were more connected to the chatbots. And we saw those two conditions here, users observers that they were with someone that they knew, like observed by acquaintances with husband and the wife, for example. They had the tendency to continue engaging with the chatbot, so they asked more questions while they were with someone that they knew. And users that were addressed by their name. So sometimes Capitu, she answered the question using their name. So, for example, Eloisa, I'm not guilty, for example. And was projected on the table the name of the user. So when the user saw their name, they engaged more. But when we had those two conditions, it was the opposite effect. So what happened if we think about how can we be more inclusive when we are doing chatbots for public spaces and a team of chatbots and humans? What happened was, if I see my name and I'm with Leticia in that art exhibition, we stopped engaging because Leticia was not with her name on the table as well. It was just the name that the person who typed. So we disengaged. So this is one thing that we should think, like, how can we make the artificial intelligence and conversational intelligence in public space more accessible because we have more people, not just one. So this is the work that I'm working right now, that are the work practices of machine teachers. So what's the context? So we have Bradesco, that's a big bank in Brazil, and they have a personal assistant that's called BIA, Bradesco Artificial Intelligence. And what is interesting about that we have a group of people that teaches this machine how to answer the final user. So when this machine, BIA, does not know what to answer, we have a group of people that worked previously in the call center, and they were the best in the call center. That's why they were invited to train the conversational system. And they decide how they are going to add the information that is missing. They review the logs to see which kind of negative feedback the final user gave because didn't understand what the conversational system said, and so on. So they review that. So they have this job to teach the machine. And we are looking at that. But when we see the contest, we see several stakeholders. We don't have just the final user that asks questions about the bank or their financial states. We have also all those people that work with that. We have the content creators that we call actually content curators. And we have sometimes the tech curators that they know a lot about the platform, about the data analysis, but they are not the content experts. They are not the domain experts. So there is an interesting mechanism here of interaction that we are looking at. So we look at first at the people that they know the content, and sometimes they treat the machine straight to the platform, sometimes not. But they have those people that know a lot about the platform that helping them as well. And what we saw some challenges, like, for example, we have collocated people and collocated colleagues that teach the same information. So sometimes you have like an update here, but another person can change that update. So there is a real-time update of this corpus. Another thing is like, if you have a text-based system, it's easier to ask the user for feedback. Did you like this answer? And the user can say thumbs up or thumbs down. But if you have a voice responsive assistant, it's all by voice, it's difficult to cut the flow also to ask for feedback. So the feedback from the user does not go through the curator, and they can't see if there is a fail there or not. Anyway, and there are a lot of internal validations as well, because if you are inside a bank, for example, you have a lot of product owners that have to approve the content that will be there. I know that, okay, I think I'm going to be very fast now. But in the informal spaces, we are doing research as well. And when we think about machine teaching, we brought this concept of teaching machines as well inside museums. So we have a partnership with Catavento Museum in São Paulo. That's a big science museum. And we did several design activities with them to understand, for example, if in the future, if they have like a robot there, how it would be. And we use a design fiction for that as well. We have some publications, and you can see. And one interesting thing that happened, so we gave them this design fiction about this robot that would help them to guide visitors in the museum and explain things. And one interesting thing that happened was like, okay, I think the museum has to actually hire more people, because we need to train the robot and also do our job. And there were issues about accountability. So I'm the one that is going to answer the hard questions about the content. So the machine can do my job of saying where is the toilet and things like that. We can comment more about that. And to finish, we have an exhibition that's supposed to be on now, but because of coronavirus is delayed. That is a group of the students inside the same museum. They are going to teach the machines how the humans, they talk. Because the machine can have a big database with a lot of information, but sometimes the machine can't understand how the humans talk. If it doesn't understand the question, it won't give the answer. So the students will teach machines about questions that those robots can answer. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Eloisa. It's very interesting project. We can talk more after. Yes, a big clap for you. We can talk more in the next section of our panel. So now I introduce us, our next speaker is Andres Moroy, Principal Research Scientist, Manager at Snap Inc. in Seattle, USA. He leads the Human-Computer Interaction Research team at Snap Inc. The products that he has created are used by millions of people and have generate dozens of scholarly publications, patents, and the Best Papers Award at the top of human computer interaction venues. So, Andres, could you tell us in a briefly your history? And it's a pleasure to be here to talk about what kind of challenges, in your perspective, are going to arise for collaborative system in the next future.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
I'm really happy to be here. Maybe I can start by telling you a little bit more about what I do, my research lab, and then I'll end with some questions and open challenges that I see being exciting in the future. I'll share my screen. Actually, I was just looking at some of the things that I've been doing in the past few years, and I think it will be useful for people to get a sense of what kind of projects, I don't know if you can see my screen, yeah, so what kind of projects I've been working on in the space of online collaboration. And I'm going back to, 2007, where I created this online community for kids, actually, to share and create their own programs, their own games, animations, etc. When I was at MIT, and now it has grown to be perhaps the largest online community for children to learn programming. You can, check it out. It's on scratch.mit.edu. The community continues to grow and thrive. But that's kind of where I started being really interested in online communities. When I first joined the project, Scratch was a desktop application that people could download and create their own projects and put them on their computer. But there was not as much of collaboration and not as much of like sharing to the world. And this was along the times when YouTube was starting to become really big and social media was starting to become popular. And so to me and our collaborators, we saw it kind of clear that the path was to make creativity and collaboration for kids equally available. So we created this online community that explored those ideas. And then after that, it became kind of really curious about like, how do we design these things? So we created this community, it grew, but we wanted to understand why it grew the way it grew, what are the design attributes. And so, after that, I worked on a number of projects exploring the kind of what makes things work. And I focused primarily on the idea of remixing, how people can build on other people's ideas. And that all came to me, as I work on a number of projects and ways of leveraging kind of crowds of people or large groups of people to enable us to do something bigger than what one individual could do. And so I'm going to fast forward to a project that I worked on after Scratch that I became a product at Microsoft. And there's also a paper that we wrote about it that, if you want to read more details, you can go to the ACM Digital Library. But this project was called calendar.help. And actually now it's a product that, as I said, Microsoft runs. The product now is called Microsoft Scheduler, which I'm sharing here. And the premise of the project was actually similar to what the previous presenter was saying. And I'll share a quick video here that just describes the premise of it. But the idea is that, scheduling meetings is difficult and that there's a lot of back and forth emails going on in the process of scheduling meetings. And what we wanted to do is to enable people to delegate the scheduling of a meeting to a chatbot. To enable the person to simply say, hey, chatbot, help me find a time between me and this other person to meet. And what we did is that we created this chatbot that kind of help people, find a time to meet. And the way we did it was through a combination of humans and machines. So behind the scenes, behind the chatbot, there was both natural language processing tools, but also a crowd of people that help the bot when the bot could fail. So if you could rely completely on automatic mechanisms, there are going to be circumstances where the system may not know how to react. And in most cases, like maybe Siri or Cortana, it just fails and says, sorry, I cannot know how to answer that. But in our case, we wanted to make it easy for the system to never fail. And the way we did it was to have a crowd of people that was kind of listening or kind of helping the bot achieve what the bot was trying to do, which in this case was finding a time to meet. And so we built the system, released it publicly, and now it has thousands of people who are using it. You can also sign up if you schedule a lot of meetings and you're trying to find a way to delegate the scheduling of meetings. You can use this product that is available now. And you may think that the Scratch community for kids and these projects are completely different, and they are, but behind the scenes, they all have something in common, which is creating systems, computational systems that support people to essentially do something bigger than what one individual could do. So in the case of Scratch, it will allow people to learn more or collaborate and kind of build things together. In this case, it allows people to do kind of have superpowers in some ways. So that's one project. And then more recently, we've been really interested in what I think is a challenge for the next 10 years for collaboration, which is that we have done a lot of really good development of technologies, including this video conferencing system, for example, that we're using right now. It's amazing that we can have this, collaboration of a conference across different countries. But I think what we kind of have ignored in some ways is the more kind of social and kind of more playful side of things, and things that we typically do in person that we are not able to do when we are remote. And so we started to explore some of that, and I'll share with you a few projects that explore that. So one project that it kind of is targeting at that idea of how do we support co-located interactions is this project that looks at how to use augmented reality for co-located creativity. And so I'll share with you just a video here of how the system looks like. But it's a very simple, it's almost like Lego bricks on your phone. And let me see if I can play the video. Maybe it's not playing here. Let me refresh. And all of these videos, by the way, are online, so you can check them out there. So here, this project is essentially a very simple augmented reality app that allows people to create sculptures together. And people can be in the same place at the same time, building these sculptures out of very simple bricks, very simple blocks, the same way that you can do with Lego. And so we built this tool mainly as a way to study what are the most effective and most fun, more enjoyable moments that people have while building things together. And one of the things that we found is that when people are in the same place at the same time, it was when they found most joy and most happiness. And kind of that really impacted us, and we really thought about how do we double down on that. So in the past few months, we've been working on this exploration of how to kind of convert the devices that we have today. That if you see this photo on the left, is like people with if you remove their phone, you can see how silly it is that we are like next to each other but ignoring each other. And many people blame the technology, while we think is not just the technology, but also the way the technology is designed. So if you look at your phone, for example, I bet that 99% of the apps that you have on your phone are designed for interacting with people remotely, not for interacting with people who are next to you. And so our challenge that we have for the next few months, and I think this is something that we can continue exploring for the next 10 years, is how do we design technology that supports co-located interactions that are playful, that are joyful, that bring people together rather than pulling them apart. And you see a video here of people actually moving around the room, playing with some technology that we built that explores that idea. And I'll share with you just kind of very quick some of the technologies that we have explored. So these are very short interactions. We created a suite of augmented reality mini applications that are all about bringing people together in the same way that board games like chess or dominoes bring people together. We thought about how do we make the phone be more like chess or be more like cards and less like a TV that is distracting people away. So here is an example of a game where people are passing one phone around the table, around their friends, and the phone is telling people to make some silly faces. And as they do that, they get a point, and they have to go faster and faster. Eventually, somebody cannot do the face that the phone is asking them to do. They lose, and then they leave, and then the last person standing is the person who wins. Another example is like not just bringing people together, but also people and their pets. So we kind of looked at the idea of how do we enable pet owners to play with their dogs with AR. And so here is a very simple game in some ways that you can get your dog to capture all these treats around the room, and you have to like in some ways control your dog and figure out how to do that. The third of these 5 examples, this one is designed for parents and kids together sitting and controlling and telling a story with their feet. So part of the novel idea here is that not only you can use tapping on the screen, but also your feet and your body as a whole can be used to tell a story. So in this case, your feet become sock puppets, and these sock puppets, you can control them and tell the story. There's like 4 scenes, and there is some scaffolding that the system does, but it's pretty open-ended for the kid and the parent to kind of tell the story as they wish. And then there's a 4th one and there's a 5th one. This 4th one is really about the idea of how do we turn the devices and environment that we have at home into interactive, elements. And so we thought about, well, let's start with a TV. Maybe later we'll explore smart speakers like Alexa and so on. For now, we started with just simple TV. So if you scan your TV, there is this planet that comes out, and then you are asked to capture different objects out of the planet. And the main goal is to get people moving around the room, kind of bumping into each other. And that sort of like physical presence is what brings people together and makes it such a special moment to be physically next to each other. And the last one is inspired by laser tag and other games like that. Here, the idea is that you can have 2 or more people kind of shooting in some ways eyes to another person, and the goal of this is to cover your opponents with eyes. And again, the main goal is to make people use these tools not as a way to distract them from one another, but to bring them together. And so just some examples of kind of how we are exploring this today. And I wanted to leave one last example that is an app that we made that is available actually on the App Store. So if you search for Significant Other, you can find it. It's a very experimental app that we've been playing with. The idea is to use biosignals as a way to support more authentic communication. So if you think about like SMS, for example, or emails, you can send emails saying, oh, I'm feeling great, for example, and maybe you are sad, or maybe you are stressed or something. Here, the idea is that you could choose one person that you feel really close to, maybe your partner, your wife, brother, whoever who you feel really close to, and you can communicate with them using biosignals from your smartwatch. And the idea is, very simple, one tap, send a message to somebody else. And here we try to make it really playful through this character of, this cute little otter, and like a playful name as well. But the core idea is that how do you convey to somebody else whom you have a very rich connection, very, very deep relationship in a shallow channel, in a channel that is very simple, that allows you to send simple just tap interactions. And the tap comes with your state of mind. So we use the heart rate and location and other signals to kind of infer what you may be feeling at that moment. Like right now, maybe I'm presenting and I'm stressed, and I can send a tap, and my wife will get a little order. And it's only a channel for me and my wife. It's nobody else's there. It's not like multiple friends or anything like that. And so again, here the idea is not just about how do we support people in co-located environments, but how do we leverage new signals and new devices to support more authentic communication. And so I think those 2 questions are something that we'll see evolve in the next 10 years of, co-location, doing more for co-location, and doing more for kind of real connections, real friendships, close connections, rather than like strangers on the internet, which I think we've done in some ways a good job technology-wise on how to connect strangers. And I think we need to look back into more, close friendships and close ties in some ways. That's it.
Fantastic, Andres. Thank you so much to share with us these new initiatives and experimental projects. So now I will turn it over to Luciano to introduce our next panelist.
All right. Claudia, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Claudia. Claudia Lopez is assistant professor at the Universidade Técnica Federico Santa Maria in the Department of Informatics in Valparaiso, Chile. And her research focuses on the design and empirical evaluation of social technologies, the study of new dynamics of information use and production, and their implications of civic participation and gender equity. Thank you for being with us, Claudia, and sharing your short time with us. And feel free to present your work as you wish. I think that you have your presentation as well, right?
Right. I think I'm already presenting. Maybe something needs to be done. There you go. Oh, I'm presenting in a very long screen, so that's why it looks like that. So sorry for that. If I change it, I will not be able to see the chat and everything else that is here. So first, hello everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'm very glad to have received this invitation to talk to all of you. The first thing I want to say is, well, to present myself. My name is Claudia Lopez. I'm an assistant professor at the UTFSM, which is a university in Chile that, let me see, it's here. So this is the university where I work. This is located in Valparaiso in Chile. So I'm sort of in the other side of most of you that are in Rio. In this side of the world, the ocean is a little bit colder than in your side, but still I have a little bit of a nice view to the ocean here. This is a small university which is mostly focused on engineering. And I work in the informatics department, which says something about what I'm going to talk about today. I was trained as an engineering, as I guess most of you that are seeing this from Brazil. A lot of people that are interested in collaborative systems in Latin America have some sort of training in engineering. It could be computer science or informatics. And then some of us get to know collaborative systems somewhere between our studies in engineering. At some moment when I finished my engineering degree, I was interested in understanding better how people interact with technology. And that's how I ended up choosing a PhD in information sciences in the US. And now it's been a few years already that I came back to Chile, and I'm back to an engineering school again, the same school. And I think it's important to say this because it's important to situate how research in collaborative systems have some sort of a different flavor when you do it from Latin America, that is very, very located in schools that are strongly computer science oriented and strongly engineering oriented, which has been for me some sort of process of understanding research in a different way, kind of like switching and bringing wherever I learned from my PhD in information science and very much in a research university towards another different setting, which is working with lots of undergrads, and especially framing that from the point of view of engineering and how to build systems. Rather than talking about like the work that I've done and the projects that I've been involved in, I decided to talk about the challenges that I see in collaborative systems in the future. Not as much on the technology as a design artifact, but mostly as what are the concerns or the things that probably are going to guide the decisions that we take or that we make regarding what are the kind of systems that we are going to build. So I'm trying to understand here, or I'm trying to think about what are the big concerns around the technology in the case of collaboration in the future. So my challenges, I just defined them as three big challenges. The first one, it's very closely related to what I care in informatics and in the design of technology, which is this idea of that more and more of the technology and collaborative technology that has been massively adopted in the world, including Latin America, has been usually framed in terms of effectiveness and efficiency, and that relates to like how well we interact, how how similar to the interactions that we have face-to-face are the relationships that we can create through technology. And which these kind of things I think are interesting and are definitely something that is necessary from the point of view of research. However, I think that we are in a moment in society, in the societal level, that people are demanding more things from technology than what we used to need before. This is probably very shaped by the current status in Chile, and I see somehow in Latin America and the world, given the pandemic, but also given the political status of many of our countries, where we are not only looking for technology that help us to continue the status quo, to continue the situation as it is, but also we are also realizing that there are a lot of inequalities happening in our society, and how that society or those inequalities are damaging people in our societies. And therefore, I think that a lot of the new technologies or the new goals for collaborative systems are going to be related to not only trying to make teamwork, for example, more effective or more efficient, but also we are going to be looking at how the collaborative systems are going to be able to create collaborations that lead to more equity among people that are collaborating, and not only to achieve some specific goal, maybe how we are going to be able to give the opportunity to more people to participate in the collaboration, and also how do we make the product of the collaboration to be helpful or at least not damaging to other people that are possibly not the main users of our technology. So I think that one of the main challenges that we're going to have in the future is to start looking at goals that are not only related to being better at what we are doing currently, but also trying to fix some problems that we have at the societal level that we need more and more to fix, because the society is realizing that they are problematic. And in that sense, I think that problems of equity in terms of gender, in terms of race, in terms of class, and even in terms of the part of the world where we live are going to become more important as a discipline. Another of the challenges that I think are important are going to become more and more important, and this is closely related to what Elisa was saying before. No, it's about artificial intelligence in the context of collaboration. And I think there we are going to inherit lots of the problems and the challenges that artificial intelligence is already having. So I was imagining what the examples that Eloisa was telling us, and I was at that moment thinking of what are the things that we are going to require of that artificial intelligence, and what are the things or the values that we are going to eventually demand of this artificial technology. In that sense, I think that from the point of view of people that study collaborative systems, we are in a good position to start helping people, users, to create the support, to create the knowledge, to engage with artificial intelligence in the context of collaboration in ways that are more informed than the ways that we are or today engaging with artificial intelligence. I think that more and more it seems like artificial intelligence is considered as something that only have effects and many negative or several negative effects on the users. However, I think that in collaborative systems we have more nuanced interpretations of what you can do with technology, and that people have agency with technology, and they can shape the technology in ways that are not necessarily harmful for people. So I think there is another challenge that we are going to be able to tackle in the next years, that is how do we equip people to deal with technology in ways that help them to understand what artificial intelligence is doing, and help shape what we want artificial intelligence to do with our collaborative systems. And finally, this is one of the comments or one of the ideas that we have been discussing with lots of other friends here in the Brazilian community of collaborative system, which is one of the big challenges will be to embrace some problems, some new problems in terms of research that emerge or maybe happen more commonly in developing countries. And what I mean there is that at least a lot of the research that I get to do is highly shaped by the data sets that we are able to collect through the large collaborative systems that we already have, like Facebook, like Twitter, like Reddit, and many others, right? Different to what Eloise and Andres were already saying, that they are creating new systems. Lots of other research in collaborative systems is about observing what's happening in some large collaborative systems. And I think that that concentration there is taking lots of the time of researchers that are not being focused on other problems that could be also interesting for research and that could be happening or be more prevalent in countries that are not developed. And in that sense, some of the problems or challenges that we have been identifying before with some of the colleagues that are present here are things like what happened with collaboration or civic participation in collaborative context in countries that have unstable democracies, as many of our democracies in Latin America. And also what happened when you want to create collaborative systems for countries or for cities where there is high income inequality. I think that those contexts that we happen to live in Latin America create some sort of challenges that are necessary that we start looking at as research problems. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to frame them as interesting or maybe manageable problems that we could contribute to from the research perspective. So finally, with these three challenges, I'm gonna wrap up and finish my presentation, trying to just put these three new challenges as something that we could think and discuss in the rest of the panel.
All right. Thank you very much, Claudia. It was pretty interesting, your lecture as well. I think that we are in good companies because we are not just mediating, but we are learning a lot here from different points of view. I think that we are all happy by having you here. Now, I would like to call Igor to join us as well. Hi, Igor.
Hello.
Igor, I'm not able to tell your surname, so I will just call you by Igor, all right?
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Right. I will make a brief introduction about you, and then I will let you talk a little bit about whatever you want, right? So Igor is a professor at Northern Arizona University. His research area focuses on the support of newcomers to open source software development communities and has an intersection between software engineering and this computer-supported cooperative work. Igor, if you will, you have a couple of minutes to present a little bit of your vision about your work regarding collaborative systems. And thank you for being with us again.
Okay, thank you all for the invitation. It is a great pleasure to talk to you all. So I just shared my screen here. I will briefly introduce myself as well, and I'll take the same perspective as Claudia. So I'll talk more about the challenges and less about what I've done so far. So just to introduce myself, this is me. I've been in so many places since I graduated that it looks like it's a bunch of years, but it's not that long. So now I am an assistant professor here at Northern Arizona. I'm here for 4 years now. And before that, I was an assistant professor at UTF-PR in Campo Mourão. And I worked in some companies as well. So I was a software developer at Celepar. I worked for Vivo for a while. And I was a global project manager for HSBC for 5 or 6 years. So my main interest here is a little bit different from what we saw so far. So I'm more on the software development side, but my take is on collaborative software development, which takes me to be really involved with the problems, the challenges, and solutions that CSCW poses to us. And what I do actually is I have my research right in the middle of software development and computer-supported collaborative work. I work mainly with open source software for 10 years, let's say now. And these days, what I've been interested in is to understand what is the dynamics inside open source, how can we engage more people, how can we make like environments, like collaborative environments, more welcoming, and how what is the role of people there? What's the role of documents there? What's the role of machine-based stakeholders there? Like one of my research lines these days is related to human-bot interaction in software development. How do people see bots? How do they interact with bots? What do bots do? How do they help? How do they bother people? As mentioned in my introduction, my main interest in that is on how to onboard newcomers to these communities. But this includes a lot of things. It's not like only how to make things easy or whatever. It's like how to make this social collaborative environment something that is good, is nice, makes me feel happy, makes me feel engaged, motivates me. So there are really so many things related to our project, our research topics here, that it's really hard to say that it's software development. I would say that it's more like collaboration. And this includes other topics. So the reason that I was invited here, it was to discuss with you some of the challenges from my perspective that I have in CSCW. So I have some history attending to CSCW conferences and to discussing with people and serving papers, and it was a good exercise to be invited to this panel because I took some time last week to revisit some papers from the 2000s, early 2000s, 2000 to 2010, from CSCW conference to see what people were discussing there. And this is quite interesting because if we think about something between 2005 and 2010, it's there, right? It's like a couple of years ago, 10 to 15 years ago. What are the challenges there in 2015, in 2004, 2003, 2002? And where are we now? So you see that something really interesting comes up here. When revisiting these papers, I saw that these challenges were quite common, like how to manage data when you collaborate asynchronously. You see, so there was a lot of discussions about version management systems and how to avoid conflicts, how to go over conflicts, how to have conversations over other artifacts. Like if I have a document, how can we contextualize our conversations on that document? How do we talk to each other if I have a code on my computer and I want to ask a question related to a specific piece of code that I'm working on now? How do I make like this context thing, awareness thing available so I can have everybody on the same page when I'm discussing something to with my stakeholders? So one of the challenges that that was the cause of all these discussions was there were limited opportunities for synchronous communication in the early 2000s. So I clearly remember when I worked with my stakeholders spread around the world, it's like we had video conferences, like with one person, like point to point. It was not common to have like multiple people joining, and we need to have like a video conference equipment that would talk to the other side. And it was like 2006, 2007 in a bank, so they had the money. So if you think about like it's 14 years ago, and the way we interacted with our customers, with people that we have working with us, was conference via telephone. It sounds like, oh, it's really in the past. No, it's not. Okay, so what we saw is like how to have shared task boards. How do we share our tasks with other people, with our collaborators that are across the ocean? How do we synchronously edit documents? How to create team awareness, like who is doing what, when, what is your mood? Can I talk to you now? Availability, whatever. This is so like last season, right? But it's not. It's right there. So this CSCW area, collaborative systems, evolves like crazy. And from here to where we are now, let's see. Okay, it looks like that we have this pandemic, and after a small bump, almost everything got back to work. Because we have ways to collaborate. We have specific things that we can do to share tasks. We have ways to edit everything online, synchronously, chat, awareness. So we see, for example, here, we have a screenshot of Overleaf. Everything is here. I know who is editing. I have a chat here. I can comment the document. I can work synchronously with other people. I can see what the document shape is. In Discord, for example, I can have chat rooms, or I can have video calls with specific people and they go back to main channel. I have Zoom meetings all over the time, so everything's scheduled. I can talk to everybody. So it looks like this is how things are now. Okay, so the point is, for me, my take here is like the computer-supported collaborative work seems to have evolved a lot. It's like we are able to work in this social online environment. But what about the other things? What this thing of this working from home a lot brought up for me is like the challenge that we have. And I share a little bit of a slice of what Andres said, and a little bit of this a slice of what Claudia said. It's like, what about our informal life, our casual communication, our spontaneous way to talk to people and stop by and ask someone out, go for a coffee, and just see someone in the grocery store and start something? Oh, I have an idea. What about that? This is over. It's like now we have to schedule a Zoom meeting to have informal chat. That's how things are these days. I think we are not there. We are there with the work, but we are not there with the social side, the really informal social side. It's like how to engage people in casual encounters. There's no such a thing anymore. What if we have to bring this thing to a more a social distance way of doing stuff? So I see that we have the infrastructure. So some things that Andres said for me match what I think. Sensors are here. We have phones. We have home assistants. We have cameras everywhere. We have even monitors everywhere. So I have TV on my kitchen. I have a TV in my room. I have a camera here. I have a video call equipment somewhere. So what's the next step? Well, the challenge for me is like how to try to recreate this social environment online. How to have a barbecue with people that are not co-located and feel like we can go to different places and interact. So we have something like this, but we are not there anymore, and we are not there yet. So this for me is like, I don't have any answers. I just like, how to foster this kind of virtual socialization. So, and taking a little bit as a second take here from my research perspective, it's like we see that open source evolved a lot during this last 10 years. And now we have a different open source landscape with companies, volunteers, foundations working together. And for me, one thing, like I am more on the side of the exploratory kind of study. So for me, it's kind of curious to observe how this thing will be in 10 years. Companies are putting money and getting money out of that. Will there be like volunteers still doing something? Will that be that the company with the greater amount of money will rule how open source is made these days? Will there be something like a mix of what we understand as crowdsourced software development and open source, where there will be a customer-driven open source, where I put my requirements there and I pay for that requirements to come out as part of that open source project? For me, these things are running, but how will this evolve? How will be the collaboration among these stakeholders from here on? How to avoid companies to take over things that are supposed to be open knowledge? How to create an environment where everybody's welcome? And not to talk about this without talking about the bots. So we have now thousands of bots spread around GitHub, for example, and they are interacting as humans sometimes. How will this challenging, difficult, complex environment be? How to shape this collaboration now involving non-humans, companies, and bots? How will that work? So for me, this is really open. It's like, can I create a bot that will review code like a human, and that's it, and it will go through? Where are the boundaries here? So I know that there are boundaries, I know, but what is a good thing for a bot to do? What is not? What is a bot doing that can bother other people? So for me, this is something that is open, and we need to really think about like the limits of where bots can play things that humans done before. So that was it. It's just like a small take trying to complement everything that people said. Thank you very much for the invitation once again. And let's go back to the discussion now.
All right. Thank you pretty much, Igor. I'm still thinking about the questions you raised up. And I believe we prepared a lot of questions here, but I believe that there are some questions that you just asked us that could be enough just to start if Leticia is fine as well. And so we took some notes here, and there is a question from Andres that is about how could we should create or reinvent those social interactions that you were just talking about, Igor. Do you have an idea, Igor, Eloisa, Claudia? How can we do this?
Yeah, and I guess maybe I can add some more context. Sorry, I was just trying to add more context to the question. As you were describing the challenges, Igor, I was thinking like one approach could be to like recreate as much as possible what we do in person. And like the Zoom barbecue is kind of trying to do that. And I'm wondering if you have seen, or if we have an opportunity also to like reinvent the way we can socialize while we are remote, for example. And maybe it doesn't look like barbecue anymore. It looks like something else. I don't know what that something else is. I'm curious if anyone, including obviously you, Igor, if you've seen like the sparks of creativity.
So what I've seen so far is like we are recreating our way of interacting. We are not bringing the way we interacted before to the online environment. And that's, for me, it's a big shift, because when we start to do that, we will like our culture will become different, because there will I'm afraid that this socialization kind of thing will become colder than it is now, because we are trying to recreate, we're trying to come up with something new from the beginning without considering what we had before. So I've been participating in a lot of events, social events online scheduled. So it's like, okay, let's meet at Zoom at 7. This is the address. We go there and we meet, and then that's it. That's pretty much it. Everyone gets a booze and and we try to chit chat. But what if like we are in a Zoom meeting? Like I think everybody here should have done this before. And what if I want just to talk to Andres for some moments? It's like, what if I want to go to the bathroom? And women do that a lot. Like, I want just to go to the bathroom and I call Eloisa, hey, Eloisa, let's go. It's like just to chat about something that's not me, like talking about two women, right? So what if I want to take Andres, I want you to talk to him in private? It's like, will I open another channel? It's like we'll be overflowed of channels. Now we can discuss things like in parallel. We just mute and then I just turn my camera off and discuss. So we are trying to recreate things, not recreate things, reinvent things that we know how to do. We are not trying to bring the things that we do to the online environment. And my question was more about how to make, how to create the thing that we know how to do online. And I think this is challenging.
Yeah.
I think it depends. I didn't talk about one project that I'm working on, but it's actually about the future of work and related how those informal relationships are changing for jobs that are relationship based, like salespeople. So we are looking at that, and I was thinking while Igor was talking, sometimes it's like you recreate new forms because, for example, today I needed to talk to Leticia and we had all those tools here and I just took WhatsApp and I said, hi, Leticia. So yes, there is this thing that we are still investigating. And this informal setting, as you said in your presentation, was something that was behind. Like, for example, in the exhibition, we saw that. So if you are visiting with someone, it's informal, and we couldn't include that person when we designed that. Then now we redesigned the experience. But it's about the design, what Andrew said before. How can we design technology for informal communication as well?
Are we shorter because usually the platforms have owners or they are centralized? So is that something that hinders how we can use that? Or, I mean, is it a problem because it's centralized, because it belongs to some companies or not? Or should we, if it should be opened, and that should be better for using that, for sharing, to keeping other ideas and then using the day by day.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. Okay, let's.
I was just thinking, kind of channeling some of the things that Claudia was talking about, to put more emphasis on different geographies, and a lot of these technologies are built, in developed countries and then used in developing countries. So yeah, I think that's a key question to, like, if you were to redesign these technologies such that they are customizable or even just built from the ground up in other geographies, what would they look like? And I kind of one technology that I can think of is like in Africa, and I think in Zambia or Northern Africa, they have M-Pesa for payments. And it was like way before mobile payments were adopted in places like the US. They were already using that because their banking system was more limited and people didn't have access to banking as much. So that was a really cool way of seeing innovation happening in places like Africa before it happened in developed countries. So I'm curious, like, if you have seen other kind of examples of that and that you find particularly compelling.
Yeah, it's a big challenge for the whole of collaborative system to recreate the social presence now. To link this question, we have it's a very interesting for Claudia about a big clap for you, Claudia, for equity and justice and focus on developing country. more than problems, do you, yes, in the video screen, more than problems, do you have thoughts on how to integrate our way of think to tackle and redesign current systems? Nigini asks. You are in mute, I think.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
now I'm talking. Yeah, so I think this question is very related to what Andres was saying before, and like the last part of the discussion, right? Like how our ways to do things could help to tackle the problems in a different way. And I would bet that if we people from Latin America start doing systems and collaborative systems, we would quickly find ways to create or to support informal communication, because we rely on informal communications for doing so many things. One of the things that surprised me a lot when I came back from my PhD in the US was how popular is WhatsApp in like our life, because we use WhatsApp for everything, for dealing with anyone that is around us, like for business, for all sorts of things. And I'm sure that was not the initial idea about WhatsApp. Like, we appropriate technology that was probably made for something to fit our lives in so many different ways that are related to our, I think, informal communication. I thought about the question because I found it very difficult. I thought about more of the problems than our ways to fix. But I think that we have at least a few things that are very distinct. One is that we are very quickly to collaborate in when there is a problem, like to make articulations among family, extended families, or friends to fix someone's problem. Like, we quickly engage in like fixing things that I think it's something that, at least in my experience in the US, did not happen so often. Like, we kind of think creatively about problems, and we quickly ask someone a favor and some person a favor, and we sort of articulate solutions very quickly. So I feel like in a sense, we might not be like a very collectivist culture in terms of like country, but we are very good at creating groups to fix specific problems. And I think that could be one way to do things that could be useful for designing solutions eventually in collaborative systems. And the other thing that I thought was interesting about our ways to do things has to be with maybe the expansion of that, but thinking about not only companies or organizations giving us solutions, or our states trying to find solutions to our social problems, but people trying to articulate collaborations in a larger way. I was very interested in this idea that Andres was sharing in our talks before, in our emails before, about like community-owned collaborative systems. Like, when we are thinking of us, like users, but also developers that are able to sustain a collaboration and are not just relying on other companies bringing us services. I think we have some ways to do that. And just the last idea that comes to mind about the ways that we do things in Latin America is that we fix problems with very little resources. And I think that way to fix things, like when things are wrong, we tend to know how to fix things, and like, they are not perfect, we are not full of resources, but we still manage to do it. And I think that if we could do that in technology and in collaborative systems, we would have technology that is more openly available to the society, that maybe we are kind of losing that opportunity there when we are leaving everything in the other side of the world. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes.
I like to think that we can do that.
Anybody else would like to answer this kind of question?
No? Jump for other?
Maybe to double down on this idea that we were discussing of like community-owned platforms. I think one of the motivations for that when I was mentioning it is that there has been some opposition in different parts of the world to what they call sharing economy platforms. So like in Barcelona, I think Uber doesn't work because of, legal and probably valid reasons. Even in the US, like in Austin, I remember Uber was banned. Same with Airbnb. And all of these systems are essentially collaborative systems, right? That bring people together. It's a marketplace, and it's just making something that you could do on paper more easier and more efficient. But like when it rubs against the local culture or norms or legal issues, I think is when it becomes interesting to think of like why, for example, Sao Paulo, which is a city so big, what's stopping them from, say, a collective of taxi drivers to come together and create their own version of Uber, for example? Like technically it's actually easy in some ways to do it, right? Because we already know what it looks like. In the same ways that open source software kind of like say, well, there is Windows, there is Unix, let's make a version that is open source, and we knew what it really looks like, and it obviously takes a lot of effort. But like once you know what the goal is, it's just a matter of doing it and kind of coming together and doing it. So I'm curious, like if you guys think of what are the barriers from that, what are the barriers that are preventing us from doing that? And maybe this is already happening and we don't know. And I'm curious to know, like in other parts of the world, if you've seen, collaborative versions of some of these platforms and what has made them successful or fail.
Yes.
Not sure if it was in Lithuania or one of the Baltic countries. They have an Uber-like platform that is owned by the taxi drivers. So they also decided not to do it and like not to adopt that technology, but create their own. And they are very clear about like not using Uber. And they tell you like everywhere in the web and everywhere in the airport too. So it's like very clear. And I think the issue there, it's more about like the social structure that makes it possible. I think it's easier to adopt technology. Like if someone comes and say, this is the technology, just use it. It's a lot easier than creating your own and taking the responsibility of maintaining it. And I think there needs to be a social structure that supports it. And that's difficult to have. And I think that could be one of the reasons that we don't have it yet. That it's like we need to rely a lot on a structure and infrastructure of people and resources that can support it. And my take on that in terms of research in Latin America is related to that too, that I think there are too few of us doing research and development at like large scale in Latin America, in each of the countries. Like we are not too few in Latin America, it's just that we are very isolated from each other. And I think, and that's one of the goals that we have, that some of us are friends at this point, because we have been discussing that what we need is to articulate our efforts. Like it's good that we are an island in each place, but if the islands are connected somehow, we are going to move this thing forward. But yeah, I think that the big thing is the social structure behind that. That's my take on that. I don't know.
There is something bugging me now, actually. It's like a question that came to my mind is like, are we researchers from Latin America focusing on our local problems, or are we focusing on global problems that are actually not our problems? So we are solving problems that are not problems that we have here, and we need to solve like faster than the ones that are larger scale.
Great.
I don't know the answer. Just that the question came to me.
I have my thoughts about that, but maybe someone else wants to share their thoughts.
Well, that's a pretty good question. There is something else that I would like to put in this question, is that do we listen our communities or not? I believe we don't listen, but this is a question, right?
Is collaborative system research addressing collaborative system problems in the more individualized way, in the country, for example, or gender, or social, I don't know. Yeah.
And the point of view of artificial intelligence, I think we can't not think about locally, because the systems they don't understand other languages. We need to teach everything. So if you have like a system that Brazilians, they are going to use, we need to have that in Portuguese. And with all the language from the whole Brazil. So from south to northeast, because it's impossible to have just one main language and one main accent. The machines don't understand. So there is something that's imposed by the technology that in some way we need to integrate about that when we think about like making it available for people to use here. But it's true, we need to think more about what's the constraints and how to do this informal communication in a more efficient way as well.
Yeah. I don't know if you have time for more questions. If you want the audience put in the comments and we ask it for them. Yeah, someone talks about the library text is an open source software to allow for local communities to build a Uber-like service. Adriana talked about the service in Taxi Real. It's something similar for that.
Yeah, I was about to say something like that. So we are talking about how to customize stuff, and Andres took a step on that, saying that maybe open source. The problem is like the core business of companies will never go open source. And if we want something, we need to start from scratch. And I think it links with what Claudia said, like we need to start that. And maybe other people, other communities, other countries can leverage what we have been done for our region and adapt to their region. So I see open source as a way to go. But the problem is the technologies that we use these days that are the main shared collaborative kind of systems are not open. So we need to rethink and start from scratch. So Libre Taxi is a good example. What if like Uber does not work for me, but what if a local cooperative or whatever company that develops open source takes over this project, create a branch, Libre Taxi Brazil, and it develops something that is specific for Brazil, Brazilian culture, and whatever. The problem is it's not that simple. It's like, okay, let's do it, but we need engagement. We need to attract people. We need to sell this to people. How to engage people and show people that this is a problem. It's like, we need to do that. Because people will see profit at the end, right? I will not stop everything that I do just to fork this project and start working for that.
Yeah. Just 1 second, Andres. We just learned that Andres need to leave us. Andres, I would like to thank you pretty much for having your time with us and sharing a little bit of your knowledge with us. I think it was great for everybody here, and hopefully this is not the last time. Just have you once more in our next events. Thank you very much.
You heard a thunderous applause. Big clap for you. Thank you. We continue here. Okay. Igor, finish your.
I was just thinking another question for our guests. It's about these experts are no AI experts and how to engage them to teach our machines. So Eloisa was talking a little bit about teaching machine learning devices, and I was thinking, if we are not biasing, if we don't put this in a broader sense. I mean, when we talk about Brazil, for instance, we are talking different regions, different accents, different kinds of talking things. Is it going to bias our machine learning, or in your opinion, should be able to learn and engage people as Igor were talking about?
So I think you talked about different things like how to engage people in open projects is one thing. Just to see if I understood. Another thing is about the artificial intelligence and the non-experts, and that they know the domain of the the application, like in health, the doctor, for example, and then you have someone that knows a lot about the platform. So one thing is like to make those platforms more available and friendly for people that are not from the data science, because then they can add in the platform what they want to add and that they think that the final user will need. Even if you are inside a company, because if you have so many people correcting your content and adding blocks on the way, and then you send to the computer scientist and he translate that again to put in the machine. It's a lot of translation, and sometimes in the end is not what the final user would like to have in collaboration or cooperation, let's say cooperation with the machine to solve a problem like I have all my cards blocked, for example, in finance. So this is one thing, to make the platforms more available and easy to understand. So it's what we are looking at, the work practices of people that train the machines to see what are the challenges. So then we can have features that they can use by themselves, and you don't need like a very high-tech specialist to be with them. So this is one thing. Another thing about open source, I think doing this movement will help the open source as well, because more people would be, it would be accessible for more people to deal with machines and understand how the data you put in the machine is transformed after that, you know. So it's more like you give information to people and they are more aware of the process, and then they can understand why machines think like that, because it's not like magic. You have humans around that. Yeah, I'm not sure if I answered. Igor, if you want to add something.
I think it's good. Like I see as two problems as well. So we have the problem of machine learning, that it's a challenge itself, right? For me, the machine learning stands for itself, and we have the problem with regionalizing stuff. And I just saw that Nikini posted something here, and I agree with him. Like it's related to finance. It's like this, yeah, exactly this comment. So. Who will finance that? So we see that when it's interesting for companies, the thing goes, because they'll hire people, they'll have part-time people working for them, and if we go to places like Brazil, Venezuela, Bolivia, it's like, would we count just with the heart of people to customize these systems, and who will finance that? Who is interested in that? Because even public funding is hard, right? So I think it's a good way, a good move, go to open source. But again, I'll go back to what I talked. Maybe it was not explicit, like how to make this a business model. At the end of the day, someone needs to get the money out of it, but the money needs to come in first before go out, right? So who is interested in that? I think finding these stakeholders is key.
For some projects, we have like the volunteer project as well. So it's like it's a company based, but we need to have people that want to act on those projects. So it's still something that it's based more on people that want to change things. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I share the idea of funding being a big driver of research and development, of course. But I do think that we could still think creatively even about funding. I think there needs to be ways to create business models that are different, and that's why I see this case of like the taxi drivers, Uber-like services as something so like it gives me hope to think that we could create the funding through something that is like associations and cooperatives that maybe create more equal distribution of resources at the end of the day as well. And I think that connects to some of the other comments there about like, even for researchers, it's hard to do these kind of decisions. Like if you want to be publishing in the best conferences in CSCW, it's very tempting to continue working on those problems that everyone else is working. So trying to change that, it's a very risky bet for a researcher, for a young researcher especially. So it's a very difficult thing, and that's why I think I didn't give my answer before when Igor was asking about like why don't we do it. I think it's like a very risky decision to like change the problem, but also go where it's harder to find the funding to do it. But I think I'm hopeful that we are going to find more and more ways to do it if we try to think about creative ways to frame the problems in terms of how that would lead to innovation in a way. But yeah, maybe I'm too hopeful. I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing that came to my mind when I dropped that question was the publication business. So just to make it clear, but that was the only thing. If I focus on local problems, I'll never publish somewhere else.
Yeah, great, guys. We will come to the end of the session. This is being absolutely amazing. Once again, we just want to thank you for the fantastic panel. On behalf of Luciano and everyone else, the rest of our team, we really want to thank you for being here. Eloisa, Andres, Claudia, and Igor, for coming and giving us this incredible food of thoughts this day, and they really help us think about collaborative challenges for the next decade. So big clap for you. If you want some final considerations, I don't know, Luciano, if you could say something more.
I think that this is time to do welfare, right? And thank all of them. It was amazing.
We need to create some way to continue to socialize, to continue this discussion in this that emerged in this panel, no? In some platform, I don't know.
Yeah, we need some informal communication technology for that.
Okay, something else? No?
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so
Nice
much.
to see you again.
That's great.
Bye.
Nice
Now
to meet
we
you
stay here.
Nice to meet you again.
Bye. We stay here.
Thank you very much.
To conclude our session for WCO. Bye.
Bye.
Come on, Vaninha and Adriana.
Tô aqui. Essa visão de três é tão bonitinha, fica esses três quadrinhos assim.
Eu preciso só colocar o meu carregador. Em live.
Então, voltando para o português, né? Fazendo um shift aí de idiomas novamente. A gente está agora no encerramento do WCO. Essa é a sessão, o ending session. Então, agradeço muito a quem ficou até aqui, a quem acompanhou todo o evento, quem está aí ainda no YouTube acompanhando. O painel foi excelente, muito inspirador, fechando com chave de ouro 2 dias de discussão sobre grandes desafios. Tivemos uma sessão ontem, hoje a apresentação do que a galera discutiu, e agora fechando com novos pensamentos, mais blocos de desafios sobre essa pilha aí de oportunidades, né? Eu espero que quem participou do evento tenha podido se inspirar mesmo, aproveitar e pensar em coisas para seguir nos próximos momentos, e que vocês tenham tido a oportunidade também de fazer parcerias. Acho que esse era um dos grandes objetivos do WCO, era a gente poder conhecer novos parceiros, novos potenciais parceiros de pesquisa, de colaboração, e eu queria deixar o convite para todo mundo de aproveitar essas parcerias, de aproveitar essa inspiração, e preparar seus papers para o Simpósio Brasileiro de Sistemas Colaborativos, que vai ser em abril de 2021 no Rio de Janeiro. Esperamos que em modo presencial, se tudo permitir, se não em modo online, vamos ver. Mas o ponto vamos nos encontrar novamente em breve, em menos de 6 meses, no Simpósio Brasileiro de Sistemas Colaborativos, e que esses desafios, eles sigam também, né? A ideia dos grandes desafios é continuar essa discussão, vai ter uma chamada em breve, agora para uma versão mais definitiva do que vocês submeteram para o WCO, e no final, a proposta é a gente fazer um special issue, uma edição de um journal falando dos grandes desafios. A gente acha que isso é uma forma de divulgar as ações da área, de potencializar as pesquisas na área de sistemas colaborativos, né? E a gente viu que a oportunidade não falta. Então, que vocês se sintam inspirados, motivados, conectados para seguir pesquisando na área e trazendo contribuições. Adriana, Letícia.
Eu estou muito feliz, estou muito, muito feliz com todo esse sonho que se transformou em realidade. Esses 3 dias aqui foram incríveis, de muita colaboração, de muita experimentação, né, para nós aí, para o pessoal que também veio junto, atendeu o chamado, esteve aí com a gente, foi muito, vou processar ainda, assim, vou realizar isso daqui um pouco mais, mas foi muito bom, agradecer todo mundo que esteve aqui com a gente, como vocês falaram, a gente fez com muito amor isso, com muita vontade, assim, de querer trazer, né, essa colaboração online e agregar aí a comunidade de sistemas colaborativos. Adriana.
Então, queria agradecer a todos que vieram aqui, participaram com a gente, né, compartilharam esse momento de experimentação também, né, com a gente. Queria agradecer, não estou mais aqui, mas o nosso palestrante, né, nosso keynote, nossos panelistas, né, muito pela participação, né, super importante para a gente, né. Agradecer, claro, todo o comitê de organização, então aquele monte de gente, né, umas 15 pessoas pelo menos envolvidas, tá? Então todo mundo participou, então quero agradecer todo mundo muito a participação, e convidar todos, claro, né, a participar do SBSC 2021, já chamadas para fora, né, já na rua, eu acho, né, e mandar seus desafios, continuar trabalhando, que eu acho que é um elemento importante, né, que aqui era um início, né, e então que a gente continue se encontrando e continue buscando, né, conversando, né, e trabalhando juntos, né, colaborando, que é o nosso objetivo, tá? Então, agradeço novamente, e tem uma enquete aí, né, com feedback, para vocês mandarem, né, para a gente saber como é que a gente melhora em próximas edições. É isso?
É isso. Vaninha, nós todas aqui corroborem com a chamada da Adriana também, para a gente se encontrar em breve aí no SBSC 2021, para a gente poder se ver e usar todos os nossos sentidos aí que ficaram reduzidos, né, nesse momento. Agradecer de novo aí, falar o nome de todo mundo, a gente tem um tempinho aí de novo para agradecer.
Acho que vale falar aqui, listar todo mundo. Então, a comissão toda organizadora, se eu puder listar o nome de todo mundo, faço questão, né? Não precisa apresentar nós três, que a gente está aqui na tela representando várias outras pessoas, né? Então, a Angélica Dias, a Caroline Queiroz, o Jorge da Silva, a Juliana França, Luciano Galegos, a Melise Veiga, o Paulo Ambrósio, né? A Noemi da Paixão, o Rafael Paris e o Rodrigo Oliveira. Todos eles super ativos e super participativos, né? E além desse pessoal do comitê de organização, nós ainda tivemos nossos alunos voluntários, né? A Maria Clara Pestana, a Ailton Ribeiro, a Bárbara Caetano, o Jonas de Paula, o Flávio Mota, Beatriz Saburido, a Lu Brito, que devia estar trabalhando na sua tese, o Felipe de Castro, a Marcela França e a Tereza Badu. Quem mandou? Aluna minha?
Ai, gente.
Vou só deixar esse slide aqui, né, para a gente poder celebrar esse time, né? Eu fui lá buscar os slides para eles ficarem aqui imortalizados. Realmente fez a diferença trabalhar com essas pessoas e fez a diferença trabalhar com esse time de voluntários. Então, big aplauso aí para vocês todos, gratidão profunda por estarem com a gente aí.
Isso aí.
E SBSC 2021 vai ser em abril, o site já está no ar. Então, se algum de vocês estiver com a tela aí, a gente pode compartilhar. E não esqueçam de submeter, olhar no site, as datas de submissões vão ser enviadas em breve, por e-mail, nas listas, etc. E, novamente, por favor, preencham aqui o formulário de feedback, isso vai ajudar muito a gente a entender esse evento e também vai ajudar a gente a preparar, né? Várias pessoas estão falando, vai ter WCO 2021, vai ter segundo WCO. Enfim, eu não consigo imaginar não ter, né? Eu acho que o evento foi muito bem sucedido, foi uma experiência única, foi uma experiência muito especial, então eu não consigo imaginar a gente não fazer o WCO 2021. Como vai ser, ainda a ser definido, né? To be defined. Mas é isso.
TBD. Ai, gente.
É isso? Fechamos? Sim, a gente está com dificuldade de desapegar, né? Estamos no apego.
A gente continua lá no assíncrono, no Discord, vai ficar um pouco, os Padlets. Vamos lá.
A discussão continua, o Discord, para quem estava, continua a discussão ali, é o site para a gente usar, né? É uma comunidade. E espera-se que a gente traga, né, esses resultados dessas discussões, aí a gente se encontre no SBSC 2021. Com essas discussões e os trabalhos e os questionamentos, tá?
Ok? Então...
É isso.
See you. Nos vemos no SBSC.
Tchau, tchau. Fiquem bem.